The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast. Nestled in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York lies every driver and fan's favorite road course. Well, I guess I'm a little bit subjective to that. But the Watkins Glen International, with its two different layouts, the boot and the cup configuration, holds high speeds, a lot of quick turns, some heavy braking zones, and produces some of the best racing in North America. The Red Sox Racing League is no stranger to this racetrack, as they've had many races here in seasons past, and we'll have one more here on the docket here tonight. Welcome everybody to PTR TV to, yes indeed, this is not a glitch, this is the Watkins Glen that we are racing under here today in our Spring GT3 Series number 2, race number 4 here at Watkins Glen. This should be a tough one to call, but I've been told the fog will roll away. It's going to be myself, Corey Silva, in the booth, and I do have a partner here tonight in the form of Bradley Dalton here. You heard his voice. I don't remember what race it was, but it was 2 races ago, wherever it was. So, Bradley, first of all, can you see me here in this virtual booth? Because we can't see anything here tonight.
Yeah, I can't see you. However, I can hear you, and that is enough for me. Good evening, everyone. It's New York. It's Watkins Glen. It's a concrete jungle where dreams are made of. And hopefully the drivers can see their dreams through this fog, because it is dense, it is rough. We are halfway through qualifying, and yeah, I would not want to be a driver right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're on board here with, this is Brian Irby right now, and it does look a little bit better from the driver's perspective than it does from the top down. So I think the FAA may redact their clearance on our Goodyear blimp cam, so may have to evade that here. But as the times do come in, you can see they are ultra close times here, which, you know, is the case here at Watkins Glen. This is one of those tracks there, Bradley, that this is a track that is, everybody knows this track intimately, every corner, every bump, everything. And because of that, the competition here is next level. And as you can see, 1/100th of a second separating first and second on the preliminary qualifying boards.
Yeah, the thing with Watkins Glen is it's a track that everyone knows, everyone loves, as you said. So you have no excuse for not being competitive. And, you know, some people are going to be like, well, you know, what about this? What about that? No, it's Watkins Glen. You should know what you're doing on this track, and you should be ready to go and just ready to run. So we're going to see some very close competitive racing. We're going to see a lot of good action here. And I personally am excited to just see how close these drivers can get, because as you mentioned, it's 1/100th of a second separating right now between P1 and P2. Everything's even closer down. The field's separated by just over 2 seconds right now for everyone that's put in a time. So it's really, really going to be fun.
It will be indeed. And obviously this is your second race here, so some of the names will be new to you, but I remember telling you some of the bullet points here of this series, and that there of Ryan Robertson kind of being the dominator on the season. Well, Ryan Robertson, he will be using his drop week, and he'll be using it tonight because he is not present here today. So that kind of, as I kind of said jokingly in the interviews last week, it opens up the field for everybody else. You guys have a chance. Here's your chance to get a win, because Ryan Robertson not here on the evening. And again, Tommy Ryan, he has won races in his past. Dave Hill has also won races. And then the guy who I usually circle as the next, you know, the next roundup, what's that saying, in like a play or something? The understudy, I guess. That's the word I'm looking for. So with Ryan Robertson being gone, I would, on my list, I'd have Mitch Heller. He's currently 5th, 0.3 of a second off. Just kissed the wall there, kissed the Armco, entering the boot there. So this lap will be invalidated. He's 0.3 of a second off. And then Mark Wilson, he has won one race in his time and a championship in seasons past, and he is third here. So I really think, and he's going to have a good show in those two team cars there. Dave Hill, I think you had a story with Top Gun. You had a story that I think it's a family scheme that kind of runs and means something to him for Dave Hill, and that team car of Mark Wilson in third. So they clearly found the secret sauce here tonight.
Yeah, I do still think that it's anyone's game as things go. I really do think anyone has a shot at this as we go through. The question is just going to be who can capitalize on tonight, who can really take through tonight and find their way to the top and find their way to be in the seat at the end. I'm trying to think of better ways to phrase this than just saying, I'm not
very eloquent here tonight either, so I don't feel bad in that capacity. Mark Kudrowski on track, and he was just a little bit higher up, got bumped back. Let's see, time to beat a 45-1-2, and certainly not doing that around this time. And we got Todd Marin Pietri here on circuit, and let's take a look. Mitch Heller, I think he is going to redact any efforts. This clearly is not going to be a lap for him, and other guys on circuit. Brian Irby here in the 11, but vaguely going over the point standings here. And again, we have the point standings to offer, but we do have the drop week here, and that drop week can be applicable in all 6 races. So with that being said, anything can really flip-flop. But as it stands right now, Sheldon Rosenbaum is up by 1 single point on Tommy Ryan, with Dave Hill third, Mark Wilson fourth, and Mitch Heller in fifth. 1 point separating the top two, and then you have about a 10-point gap down to third, and then third through fifth is pretty tight. But again, that's all on the drop week, so it's very hard to tell, because as we said kind of off air there, Bradley, you never know what's going to happen in those next 2 races. You may have thought your drop week would have already been used, but if you have a worse run in the next 2 races, you may have to switch that drop week.
Yeah, and it's something all of these drivers are going to be calculating off the week. So once this race is done, we kind of see how things settle in. Everyone will take their time and kind of calculate through and say, all right, this is, what we need, where we need to be, and etc. It makes things tougher as we go to really figure out who's where, but it adds a little excitement, a little taste of just the unknown, which can make things interesting. Also unknown to me right now is when this fog is going to clear out, because we had said soon, the trademarked iRacing line soon, but yeah, so that is also, I like it when things are unknown. It is frustrating, I'm not gonna lie, but sometimes just that little taste of not knowing exactly where you're at, it can put a motivation to some of these drivers to do the best they can every time they're on track.
Exactly that. And so speaking of that, Mark Wilson doing the best he can. He moves up to second, and looks like Tommy Ryan has managed to be the only driver to break into the 44-second bracket. So now he has a 3/10 buffer over Mark Wilson. Mark Wilson, I think if you could see through the fog, I thought we said the fog was supposed to roll out, but I'm almost thinking it's actually getting worse right now, if I'm being completely honest with you. Let's actually, I'll kind of bring up one point and then get back to my other. Time-wise, that's what it is. So we're at almost 100%. So the weather is doing everything in its power to not rain, because with this much humidity, it basically rains. So the weather is just doing everything it can to hold off, but we are getting later into the day, so we're losing sunlight. So even if it does start to clear up, we are losing that natural light. So what we have now is we have a ton of fog and waning light. So those are two just kind of opposite things you want to deal with there. But what I was saying about Mark Wilson, he's following his teammate there, Dave Hill. And I think that's actually working as a slipstream benefit. He's far enough that it's not necessarily hurting his aero in the corners, but he's close enough that he's getting a little bit of that toe on the straightaways.
Yeah, he's playing that very, very good qualifying game of being just close, just far enough, right where he needs to be for Mark Wilson to get the best advantage possible. And it's tricky, but it is something that when you have a teammate in the game and you're both trying to push and do very well, you want to play that game. And was there someone backwards on the main straight, or did I just make that up in my head?
Well, we are within the countdown period here, so I think at this point, guys, who, if they don't have a lap, maybe they just kind of said, all right, let's just abort very quickly here. So you see the 2-minute countdown timer on the top left of your screen. So right now, anybody currently on a live lap will have the ability to finish it. Can't start a new one, but if you're on one, it still will count. Todd Pietri on track right now. Let's see if he can time to beat, of course, Tommy Ryan at a 79. Pietri, as my voice went away. 45.8 is his best lap, and this lap will not count because he is going to pit. Jeff Ryan, I'm assuming there's a relation between him and Tommy, but I cannot fully confirm that. Actually, we have Dean Mall here. Out of nowhere, all of a sudden, he moved up to P4, so he snuck a good lap in here. So again, as you said, Bradley, Watkins Glen, it brings out the best of everybody in just these times. We have the top, I'll go as far back as the top 10, separated by 1 single second.
Yeah, it's very close. And here's the thing, too, with Watkins Glen is sometimes drivers wait till the last moment to pull their best lap out. Because here's the thing, you can run qualifying all the way through, and I can't even see where the track is. I'm going to presume that we're looking at the Glen right now. Man. Oh. Yeah, bringing around P11, Reed Rundle with Kevin Kyle joining there in 12th place. And then we're going to be looking at P13, which is going to be... P13 is Jim Graziano. There we go, with Nathan Lafayette in P14. And then running P15, it's Dennis Griffin with Scott Houston in P16. P17, Dwayne McCarthy and Ed Sutcliffe in P18. Jerry Mueller and Bill Palucki in P20.
So, fun fact here, I started coughing and I muted my mic, and I never unmuted it. So I read the whole top 10 and gave a little speech, and nobody heard it. So, but I stopped coughing, so that is a good thing. 21st is Jeff Ryan, James Prostel Jr. in 22nd, Aaron Law in 23rd, and Greg Harris 24th. 27 cars here at the Glen. Gerald Livingston in 25th, Mark Allen in 26th. I don't think I've ever heard that name before. And then shotgun on the grid here tonight, Mark Adgie out of Virginia here. So we already went over our weather conditions. Actually, we're going to go over them one more time because they have since changed since the end of qualifying here. So our humidity has gone down, and it is going down rapid fire here. So the get your lotion ready because the air is getting dry here. And 7:06 in sim time. So, but we are dated out of May, so we will have light till about 8:30, a minimal wind here. Our race details here: limited fuel load, so that gives us that pit stop, one fast repair, and of course it's a 30-minute timed race. There are penalty systems in place for making it back to the pits under your own power, as well as incidents. But a very short pace lap, Bradley, and we'll get ourselves going here at the Glen.
Yeah, we just got to run down the chute here, and then we'll hit the final couple of corners, and we get underway. The thing with the Glen, and the key for this is, again, everyone's very closely matched. So it's not so much a matter of being the fastest as it is just surviving and being smart. That's going to be my key for the race today, is to see everyone just keep it together and go smart. We're already coming through the final corner. iRacing pace truck will peel off. And I tell you what, Corey, we'll be underway for some good racing here today.
Yes, we are. One of the favorite tracks in North America, and that's where we're going to be. Red Sox Racing League going live here from Watkins Glen. Let's go dive it off into corner number 1.
And here we go down the hill. We'll bring it, and as it sits, it is going to be Tommy Ryan in the lead there with David Hill, Mark Kudrowski in the background, bringing it P2 and P3 in the Porsche and the Audi. Some action a little bit further back. You can see people kind of going 2-3 wide. Again, this is where we talk about how closely matched all of these drivers are, as we see in the mid-pack there. Les Turner, Reed Runnell, Kevin Kyle trying to run things through. We've got some side-by-side action, and as we run down towards the inner loop for the first time here in this 30-minute race, these laps are going to go quick. Lots of side-by-side. Who survives the run in the inner loop? Well, I'll tell you, Tommy Ryan's through, David Hill's through, Mark Kudrowski, Mark Wilson, and
huge melee. That is not something we see in this series very often here. Entering that bus stop, Dwayne McCarthy, I think, may have gotten the worst end of the secret sauce there. Let's try to sort out what happened. Not from that camera, from this camera. We're already wrecking at this point. We'll try.
I am showing it started with Bill Paul Lucky missing his brakes. And then that brought in McCarthy, Ryan, Livingston, and Sutcliffe.
Well, that is why I'm glad I have a partner here today, because that will help me out in figuring out these situations here. Let's go from our top-down cam. Bill Paul Lucky. Oh, no, Dwayne McCarthy seemed like he slowed up way more than everybody else, but it may have been even further up. Let's go back and see. I don't think anything's overly happening up front. Bill Pollocky is back there, and Dwayne McCarthy in that car. The teal blue car is Dennis Griffin. We'll get one more look at that, and then we'll get to the action at the front of the field here. But it did look as though the Dennis Griffin may have slowed up more than everybody expected, and it just kind of created a domino effect there. Again, that is a very rare occurrence here in this series to have a wreck of that significance here. Luckily, they do have a faster pair, but Ed Sutcliffe and Dennis Griffin have already since retired out of the event, so unfortunate for them. But as we go back to live action and to the front of the field here, Tommy Ryan up by about a half second on Dave Hill, Kudrowski in third, Mark Wilson in fourth, and yeah, there's Jerry Miller getting his fast repair after that incident. But look at exiting the bus stop. Tommy Ryan lost all of his lead. Dave Hill right to the back bumper.
Yeah, Dave Hill's been slowly kind of reeling in there on Tommy Ryan as we've been looking at the replays there. And we've got another incident here, it looks like, of Brian Irby has had a big moment of what I'm showing here. This
he went flying.
Inner loop. Inner loop's going to be a big action point here.
Yeah, he went for those curbs, and you basically have to get all four tires on that entry curb right at the edge of the arm cut. In these cars, when you get all four tires on that curb, you literally will fly. And there is very many circumstances that all four of those wheels will be in the air, and you just have to sit and pray that when you land, you're headed in a favorable direction to make the rest of the bus stop. Unfortunately, not for Irby there. I don't think that contact was too bad. But he will lose his track position and still putt on here. But looking to complete lap number 2. Not much has changed, but these guys all within a tight stake formation here coming onto the pit straight.
I'll tell you one person I'm keeping my eyes on back in the background, or actually two drivers I'm keeping my eyes on. Look down there in P13 at Aaron Law is up 10 places from the race start, and then a little bit further back there, P15 Mark Agee is up 12 places from the race start. So keep your eye on those two drivers as the race goes. Started P27, P15 Mark Agee. So up a pretty significant amount there, and we'll see how much further they can keep going. It's not unrealistic. The gap is spread out, don't get me wrong. That first lap incident has really caused a bit of a kink in the field, but I still think it's not unrealistic to think that Mark could move his way up a little as this race goes.
What did I call him? My understudy of the race, and I'm not sure if he was involved in that main hoopla. I mean, I'm assuming he must have been, because started in 6th, but that was well above 6th place, so I don't know what happened to him. There's no trigger for that, but Mitch Heller, obviously his race in shambles here, but Again, up front, everybody kind of in that snake formation here. They're entering the boot, heading down into the heel, which is a downhill. It can throw a lot of guys off here at the entry of the exit of the boot here, because you're heavy downhill braking. It can be difficult to get your braking point situated. Then you exit it, have to keep it on track, get it wound back in before the grass. And then this is a very difficult, underrated portion of the track, getting merged back onto the Cup circuit. A lot of transitions there. It's kind of akin to Daytona, merging back onto the oval. A lot of transitions, very easy to get the car upset.
Yeah, it's a very... The thing about Watkins Glen is it's so tricky, but so simple looking at the same time. If you look at it just from a top-down perspective, the blip shots, if we hadn't have had the blip shots, there we go. It doesn't look that complicated, does it? To me, at least, as someone who is a sort of decent driver, it doesn't look that bad. If you get an onboard shot and you ride a lap with one of these drivers, this track is tricky. The curbs are there to kill you. Those walls are there to kill you. It is a very, very unforgiving track, especially from this portion of the inner loop all the way back to the main stretch.
As I said, all 4 tires on the curb. You fly, you land, and then you have to keep the car pointed for the rest of the bus stop. And, this circuit... they had to do some work. Of course, back in the day, it did hold the IndyCar series. I think the last race here was in 2017 because the Boston Grand Prix got relocated. But they ran here mid-2000s, and they were forced to do some work here in the S's because this track is just so narrow. They didn't deem it safe enough. So they did have to work in the S's to create a little bit more runoff room here. But, of course, this track held Formula One races back in the 1970s, but they basically have to demolish this place and run over to get FIA Grade 1 certifications here. But certainly good enough for GT3 action and, of course, NASCAR and all the other tin top divisions that race here. So some good stuff. But this is, again, still for the lead. And I think the conga line just keeps getting longer and longer. Now we're adding Dean Mall to the end of that. Gives us a 5-car chain. Then we go back about 2 more seconds to Andrew Humphrey in 6th. Marin Pietri in 7th. They're just kind of in their own little bubbles here. And the next pack of cars kind of started off by Kevin Kyle in the 10th spot.
Yeah, my question really for these top 5, Dean Mall up. Who makes the move first? You're sitting in slipstream. You're kind of just hanging out. Someone needs to do something to shake things up in this top 5. It's 22 minutes left to go. But something needs to move now, because otherwise you're going to be sitting there riding through and you're just going to see this chain of cars continue to open up as this goes. Yeah. If I'm Dean Mall, I'm going to be looking for something in the inner loop and just try to go ahead and get my way up on this field.
Yeah, I always relate these slipstream tracks, your Daytonas, your Watkins Glens, your Road Americas, of course your Le Mans, your larger circuits. You really almost treat them, in the form of, you think of a NASCAR race, you think of restrictor plate racing, you have to time plan your move. That is what you do here at Watkins Glen. You have so many slipstreams, so many opportunities that are kind of out of your control. You get past or you are past if you make the wrong decision. So you really have to make that plan, especially coming down to the end of the race. Do you want to make the move into the inner loop when you know that there's 2 or 3 good passing zones on the back end of the circuit? But if you wait too long and you don't get the run you need, well, then you just lost a bunch of opportunities. So it's really, really a timed, kind of an educated guess on what to do, and just have to hope that you can execute.
Yeah, the execution part is where we tend to see the problem with drivers, though, is that they get antsy, they get excited, they try to just make a move stick that shouldn't stick. And that is where we tend to see, if there's an issue, it's that. It's just drivers get very bored of being in place. Like if you're Bill Paul Lucky, there we go, I will say your name properly, and you're sitting in place where you're at right now, there's a world of cars ahead of you that you could be up racing, and you're stuck behind a BMW. And
I'm shocked with him, because you could see he was in that lap 1 melee, and that right front has definitely seen better days, and he may be able to use that fast repair on his pit stop, but for the time being, he's hanging on quite well behind Mark Adgy there in that 15th spot. This is about 26 seconds behind the leader. You have to go another 6 seconds up to, speaking of cars running way better than they should, this is Jim Graziano in the number 34, who has 0 aerodynamics, no front bumper on that car. He is currently in 14th, and he's running about 3 seconds a lap off the leader's pace, and I don't think there's any question as to why.
Yeah, Jim Graziano's car is it's rough. It's rough, but you know what? If no bumper cover makes it work, it makes it work, and I respect it. And here we go. We're seeing some moves up front. Dean Mall finally starting to try to shake things up for us as it goes, and we can see there looking up, trying to find a move of Mark Wilson. I thought he was going to get something. He's right there where he needs to be, but the Lamborghini just not able to fight in the corners against the Porsche. But the Lamborghini has some good speed, and I think should be able to make a move, but the Porsche is just nimble enough in the corners to be able to get an exit and get a run and just fight it there on corner exit.
Now, I remember talking to Ryan Robertson after that was the race that you watched there, Bradley. It was Sebring, and I remember we saw Tommy Ryan Bennett on the last lap out of second. And I remember Ryan Robertson saying in his interview that the straight line speed of these Ferraris is hard to beat. And is it any surprise, with that being said, that on a track that requires a lot of top-end speed, that we got a Ferrari leading this race, and really nobody has managed to pull a charge on him? But again, Dave Hill, it just makes you wonder, and we've already tapped on this point before, how much is Dave Hill, how much is he just kind of chilling there, just kind of gauging Ryan's tendencies? Or is this just what he has? And speaking of what he has, Dean Mall, he was going high, he was going low, forcing Mark Wilson to take a defensive line into the bus stop, and ultimately not able to do it. But he's got Wilson sweating here. And if I know Mark Wilson, I would think he would just pull aside and let him go. Mark Wilson is very calculated as Mall takes a stab here into the heel, into the toe. I don't know. I don't know shoes.
I mean, it depends on if you're looking at it from the left or the right, too. So I think Watkins Glen calls it backwards than what it should be, but everyone's going to fight me on that, but it's fine. Mark Wilson holds on to that position, and here's the thing. You were just talking about how he's calculated. If we go back and we were to watch that again, I think Mark Wilson tried to give Dean Mall some room because he knows that the Porsche has enough exit to fight through on this downhill section and get back. That's the thing. I don't think he was necessarily letting him through. I think he just had
James Prostel Jr. Yeah, that was you said it earlier, the bus stop is not a fun place, and I think James Prostel Jr. will put a check mark on that list of drivers who believe that. But you can see that little bit of skirmishing that the 323 and the 10 were doing, and it took them out of that lead snake, and it lost them about a second to Kedrowski, Hill, and Ryan. So now they're going to have to muster it up and try to tag on to the back of the pack, or it may not be possible. But we are now closing in on halfway, and again, that pit stop still among us here on the evening. I've seen guys pit as early as 10 minutes into the race, and I've seen guys go as late as 4 minutes into the race. It almost makes you wonder, do you want to pit by yourself? It's kind of hard to say that you want a drafting partner, but I almost think it probably wouldn't hurt things. It's Bill Pollock.
You mean to tell me that a street track where they run NASCAR, we're talking about drafting and you're surprised? No, Corey, don't tell me that. You're surprised we're talking about drafting.
Yeah, I mean, Daytona, it's certainly a thing. Here at Watkins Glen, the straightaways aren't ultra long, but they're long enough that, we already saw it. We saw Hill and Hill and Wilson kind of slipstreaming together in qualifying. And it does look like Mall and Wilson are now trying to do that. As I said, they are trying to get to the pack in front of him. Let's pull up the intervals here. Wilson to the next car ahead of him is 1 second, and that slipstream range, in my rudimentary experience, I race about once every 3 months, is usually about 0.7 of a second. So he's just got a little bit more to get before he'll start getting that aerodynamic assistance.
Yeah, it can be anywhere from 0.7 of a second to just over a second. It really depends on the track.
Oh, Kevin Kyle. I don't know what happened there, but we are going to go back and figure out, because I did see some smoke if my eyeballs were calibrated properly.
I think they were. Let's see if we can catch exactly what happened here. And Ferrari.
He's just going for the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. He's just trying to pull out, Yeah, just trying to get a couple style points there. And, but he does continue on, and I talked earlier, and it makes me feel nice when I say something and then people validate it. It makes me feel more intelligent. That last corner merging back onto the circuit is rather difficult. We do have some drivers taking it into the pits. Aaron Law, I think we mentioned him earlier. He is going into the pits right now. We have had Jerry Miller, Bill Pawlucky come into the pits, but of course some of those were damaged pit stops. But up front, these top three, I fail to believe that they can't make the moves. I solely think they are just being patient, and they're going to see where the pit stops play out, and they're going to battle on the second half. I am a firm believer of that concept.
I don't disagree with you, because the top three have just been steady fast, and again, these three were separated by millimeters in qualifying. It was a very, very close, tight, competitive qualifying, so I'm not surprised to see the top three there. I'm still surprised to see Maul behind Wilson back at P4, P5. I'm still waiting on that one to develop, and it's closer and closer time after time. Maul needs to find a way to just get the nose in there, just get enough of a nose in there to throw Wilson off.
Yeah, and these guys very conservative. I've seen some races here. Actually, we were here 2 weeks ago there, Bradley, and that safer barrier was not a safe place. These guys using a lot more patience than we saw at the last race at Watkins Glen we saw, but we shall not bring up that one once more. But yeah, at this point, it's a patience game, and I am looking here on the back end telemetry, and they are losing time, actually, Wilson and Maul, so I do think we are down from actually, I don't know what a 5-pack would be. I know it's, a single, a double, a triple, kind of a quartet. But what is a 5? I don't know. But Maul here into the bus stop, side by side. They're going to go door-to-door contact. No! Wilson and Maul go around, and somebody lost some car, and that was Dean Maul. And that is a very surprising situation. Now, you never want to say somebody should do something, but I'm very surprised that Mark Wilson, from what I've watched him for years, I'm shocked he let himself get into that position. And I'm not blaming him at all, but just knowing what I saw of him, I thought he would have just said, you know what, go. I don't want to be in that. I want to finish. Very unlike him to push the envelope and go in there door to door.
Well, I'm watching the replay back myself separately because I'm trying to understand exactly what Mark Wilson's logic might have been. And the only thing I can think of as I watch this replay is that Mark Wilson didn't realize the angle he was going in to the inner loop. He didn't realize the angle he was going to hit that curb and lose control of the car. It's the only thing that can make sense to me, because as a driver in that situation, you've got a guy side by side going into the loop. You know you're going to have to slow down to try to cut. And he didn't. He was just side by side. Maul had the position. I don't, that wasn't a dive bomb. I mean, you could validate that if you're still on it, but I don't think that was a dive bomb. I think he would have had the corner, per general race control logic there. But everyone, nobody's perfect, as we always say. Nobody's perfect. So he'll probably look back at that one and kind of kick himself. But the racer's mind, you don't want to get past. It's against all basic logic. Even if it makes sense, it's against all racers' brains to voluntarily let somebody pass you. It's something that just, you have to fight with yourself to make logic of. But drivers we haven't spoken of on the evening, we got Les Turner, who he qualified 10th, and now he's up to 6th. He didn't get through the bus stop that well that time. You can see how he missed the apex there. Reed Rundle not in the Little Caesars mobile here this evening, though I think I do see a small logo just to make me happy. But this is 6th and 7th, taking advantage of that attrition. And then you have Todd Marin-Pietri in 5th. But some of this is skewed by the fact that a significant amount of drivers have made pit stops. Jerry Miller has already stopped. Again, Jim Graziano, he has a front bumper now, so he should have some speed back in that car. Wilson back on circuit, presumably with a fast repair. No fast repair, but he is back on circuit. Yeah, back on circuit, trying to run things through. Wilson's into the pits now, I will say, so we'll see how that pit stop plays as the leaders are coming through. I think
you're still on replay feed.
I am on replay feed actually. Yeah, let's jump back to live feed. That's probably better. For
Dave
me.
Hill, he is the first of the, I don't say three stooges in a silly way, but I say it because that's three of something, and that's the first three group I could think of. And now I can't think. Mo, Larry, and Curly. So take your pick as to who is who. So, but the first to have them to come into the pits, and that makes you wonder, there's not going to be tire changes. We don't have tire changes in this series very often, so it's just going to be a matter of the fuel input. Who's going to take the most? Who's going to take the least? Is it going to be enough? You got Marin, Pietri, Turner, Rundle, and Husted all into the pits right now. So now we just await the top 5 of Ryan, Kedrowski, Lafayette, Humphrey, and Kyle. Said that out of order, but that is our top 5. They are basically the last to make their stops here, and we have an estimated 5 to 6-ish laps left estimated.
Yeah, Ryan is just cruising. This is a Sunday cruise in upstate New York of just going. Absolutely, I don't think anything can stop that Ferrari except for himself.
Now we'll see here. Now this is our gauge right now. We have Dave Hill, and take a look at that pit stop time, because that's going to be what we're referencing. 7.8 seconds of gasoline into that number 13 Porsche of Dave Hill, and he's right with the leaders. 37-second box time from lane to lane. He spent 37 seconds in the pit. So now this is going to be the money stop. This is going to be, again, you have to get down to speed. You have to, of course, run pit road speed, which you have the pit limiter for. You have to slow down in your box, you have to accelerate out of your box, and then, of course, merge back onto the circuit. There's a lot of driver time to be had, not just the time you to spend actually refueling the car. So we'll see how that all plays out. We got Andrew Humphrey coming in the pits, just waiting on our top 2 to see what our lead battle is going to come out to be.
I think these top 2 are going to leave it till like 5 minutes to go. I think they're just going to let it go as long as humanly possible that they can get away with. I'd say that, and then they'll pit at the end of this lap, of course, because that's how things tend to go. But I do think Ryan has the gap to pit and come back out with not a worry in the world as far as I can see.
Well, I am also looking at the, I don't know if you have your timing screen back up there, but I'm looking at, I mentioned Dave Hill with a 7.8 second box time, and I'm just kind of scrolling through what everybody else has done. Most everybody else's box time, 8.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of with that is Dave Hill may just really have it calculated out, may just be willing to lift, conserve, and risk it through. Because the thing is, you have to get back around to the pit cone on the cooldown lap. Doesn't necessarily mean you've got to do it quickly. And there we go, 1 and 2 are
Kedrowski I thought I saw Kedrowski. I think he tried to, as the kids say, yeet to the back bumper of Ryan there. And I think, what does Ryan say? Made for this. Made for trying to lead a race. Made for trying to win a race here. So this is what we're going to follow. Let's go ahead and watch that box time from Tommy Ryan. He's all the way, I think, in the second stall, if I'm not mistaken here. Let's come down and see that number 18. You're in a downhill pit stall, so it did a good job not over, sliding the box. But let's see. 7.8 was Dave Hill. About 8.5. So now let's watch the blend. Dave Hill entering turn 1. Are we going to be right on each other's whiskers here, entering the corner here? Yes, we are.
Oh, Dave Hill, you have a chance to win this.
He has the Mo, too, coming up the hill. If he could time this, he may be able to take it. Oh, he couldn't do it. There was nowhere to take the momentum up through the top of the S's.
We're not done yet, though. Watch this. As we run down, we'll run into the inner loop. He's got the stream. He's going to dip to the right-hand side. He thought about it, just not close enough that putting his nose there in the mix is going to make a difference. But Dave Hill is on a run here to maybe knock the Ferrari off and get a Porsche win today. As we go through, you can see he is right there on the back. This is going to get interesting in it. As these two start battling, it's going to open up the door for Kedrowski.
Yeah, look at that, 9.8. So he was almost in the pits for 2 seconds longer than anybody else. And because of that, you can see the gap that has come into existence here. But other guys, we have Jerry Miller. He is back in the pits. I think that's the second time he's pit today. One because of an incident, one because of required fuel. But now there's no more playing time. If you're Dave Hill, we'll go back to what we said earlier. Do you make the move when the move is there? or are we playing games and trying to make the move as late as possible to evade getting a comeback charge? Well, first you got to keep it on the circuit, but second of all, you got to make that plan.
Yeah, I think if you're Dave Hill here, there's no sense in waiting. The longer you wait, the further away Tommy Ryan's going to run. Because when I look at pace, they're fairly evenly matched. 145.33 fastest lap Dave Hill, 145.28 fastest lap Tommy Ryan. So if he gets the opportunity, he has to take it. He cannot leave something sitting and say, oh, well, I can wait for something better. You're not going to get better than the opportunity you get. So there's no sense in sitting back and waiting. You've got to take it when it's given to you.
You do have to do that, and you just have to wonder as well. I mean, that's 7/10 of a second shorter of a pit stop, so what is that, maybe a third, half a gallon? I don't know what the fuel rates are in these things, but it can't be much more than a gallon, if anything, if even that. So is there enough? Is he going to have to pedal it? I mean, I don't recall seeing a real fuel battle in this league. Most everybody has their P's and Q's dialed out with that, but you never quite know here. Going a little bit further back, you do have two guys we haven't talked about. Well, we talked about Les Turner, but we haven't talked about Scott Husted there in the number 12, that Sinclair Porsche, who's looking to the outside. Les Turner is going to take a defensive line here into the bus stop, but looks like the 12 will drop back into line. Think better of it.
Yeah, and I think that's the sign of the smart drivers, when they know in the bus stop when they need to try to make a move and when they can let it go. We saw that incident earlier with Mark Wilson, where it was just very... I'm 50-50 on what happened with that, and I'm sure the drivers are going to come after me with pitchforks later, but I'm still very 50-50 on that incident.
Dave Hill, keep it on the track if you want to have the chance at it. I will guarantee you, I will bet you all of the crypto I have in my account, which is about one Shiba Inu coin, that Mark Wilson will make a comment either in the Discord or in the broadcast comments about his thought process there, because, you know, I've been covering these guys basically since 2018. There was a kind of a 2-year hiatus where I took a break from streaming, but as soon as I came back, I got the call, do you guys want to come back and stream Red Sox course? I said yes, and Mark Wilson's been here ever since, so I know his style. So when I say that is not like Mark Wilson to put himself in that spot, I think he's probably going to agree with me. But if not, I do love a respectful debate, which I know I can certainly have with that man. And you have to be nice to him, because he's actually the one who fronted the additional pay to have you in the booth with me. So you got to be nice to Mr. Wilson himself, but all in good fun here. But we're coming down to what I believe should be 2 laps to go. So we're looking at the timer here, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. We'll probably hit the stripe around, I don't know, 150 or so. It's going to be close. Our estimator still says 2 to go, but our average lap time around here is about maybe 146. So this could be, it's going to be right on the money of 2 to go, 1 to go.
Yeah, it's gonna be close, and I don't have a good answer for which way is gonna.
Yeah, the estimator is still saying 3 laps to go. The estimator still thinks it'll be 2 at the line, but no, definitively now. Look at this right now. We're still in the boot, and we're just now getting to that 1 lap part. So we are going to come back, and this race will be on the white flag upon getting to the start-finish line.
Yeah, which I think it just spells for Dave Hill. There's not going to be much more Dave Hill can do here. He's not finding the pace to get up to the back of his Ferrari, Tommy Ryan, and he's just not finding it. More interloop shenanigans.
Yeah, that was Dwayne McCarthy. Remember, he was kind of the first pinball in that lap 1 fiasco here. But coming down under the stripe, there comes Barney with the white flag in hand. 1 more lap here around the Watkins Glen racing circuit here. And Tommy Ryan has basically, I mean, he hasn't led every lap, but of course that was due to the pit cycle. But if it's been under his control, he's basically thrown the perfect race here today. I mean, maybe you could say, I can't really take a baseball analogy to that, but if it was in his control, he has done it masterfully here today. The only thing that's going to probably take this away from him is a self-induced mistake.
Yeah, and if there is going to be one, interloop is the place to do it. But gets through the interloop beautifully here, and this is going to be our final run down here through the boot. As we see this downhill right-hander, it can be a little tricky, but Tommy Ryan's done beautifully of knocking it out. Dave Hill, just a handful of attempts left, but that gap is just a bit too much. I don't think Dave Hill can come out from it and I don't really see much changing through the field otherwise. There should be a good battle that maps out, I believe, for P5 and P7 coming out near the end of this race, but as it stands right now, Tommy Ryan just has a few more corners to hold on to it. Yes,
he does. As the timer ticks down to 0, the checkered flag will come out, and we will be racing to the checkers. He has it to about a 0.4 of a second. Only really, this is the last hard braking zone. I mean, we saw a couple self-spins here at the top of the hill, so that would be the most catastrophic situation for Tommy Ryan. But I think after Sebring, what he learned there, I think he is probably toning it down to 90%. Just ensuring that he does not make a similar faux pas here on the evening. He started up front, led every lap that he was in control of leading here, and held off the charge from Dave Hill. He's going to come off the final corner, and his first win of the season is going to come here at the Glen. Tommy Ryan wins race number 4.
Yeah, Tommy Ryan with a very good win there. Dave Hill gave it a shot, and best chance possible was coming out of the pit stop cycle, but Dave Hill just a little off pace there and not able to get through there. Les Turner here, as this is going to be who we pick up with. Les Turner coming around out through, defending from Scott there very, very well. And as we hit the stripe, it is going to be Les Turner ahead of Scott. But Scott's been putting pressure on him lap after lap. I know we haven't seen it as much, but it's been very close. And then we still have this battle a bit further back, BMW versus Merc.
Yeah, that is Mark Allen just a little bit further ahead in the Ferrari. Somebody going off very wide. They're not sure who that was. That went off completely off the circuit. Let everybody go. Must have been a lap down there. But this is the closest battle to finish this thing out with Dwayne McCarthy trying to close in on Mark Adgy, but that will not come into fruition here. That battle will kind of stabilize out where it is, and they will take their run to the checkers here. But running the cool down lap, Tommy Ryan, congratulations, of course, go to him. And while he does that, we will go and give you the final rundown of results here from the Glen and start our post-race show. So Bradley, let's let them know where they finished here tonight.
Yeah, and of course, finishing up in the top is going to be the Ferrari of Tommy Ryan. Very, very good run all the way through. Dave Hill tried to chase him down at the end and wasn't able to make it happen. Mark Kudrowski finding himself there in P3 in the Audi. He was fairly close to the pit stops and then just kind of lost touch with the top two, 6.7 seconds back. Andrew Humphrey, P4. Reed Rundle rounds out your top 5 there. And then you have Todd Marin Petrie there in P6. Todd, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Les Turner in P7. Scott Houston in P8. Nathan Lafayette in P9. And Kevin Kyle rounding out top 10.
In fairness, he's never corrected. I've said Marin Petrie, and he's never corrected me. So I'm going to assume I'm right, but for all I know, I'm not. But either way, we got Jim Graziano in 11th. Bill Paul Lucky finishes here in 12th with Mark Allen in 13th, another Mark in 14th in the form of Adgy. Dwayne McCarthy, he was in that lap 1 hoopla, but he still gets a top 15 out of it. Ryan, Miller, Law, Livingston, and Harris rounding out the field. And just to finish it on out, Brian Irby in 21st. Mark Wilson, he was involved in that questionable incident in the bus stop. Dean Mall was also a part of it as well. Prostel, he murdered the safer barrier there as well. Not sure what happened to Heller, but Griffin and Sutcliffe were both in that lap 1 ruckus. Well, we do have our winner here, so that's a good thing. We got the interviews populating, and we'll change the pace here on the evening. Bradley, I'll go ahead and give you our race winner to speak to.
Yeah, looking at our race winner here, Tommy, who I have to say, Tommy, good evening, my friend. Your Ferrari looked unstoppable. Kind of how was your Thursday night drive here around Watkins Glen?
Surprisingly, very, very good. And like I said last week, I knew a lot of people were going to be fast, but like I said, you got to execute and qualify and then go out there and don't make mistakes. And I kind of almost did a couple of times, but luckily I got Dave out of the pits, and I thought he was really going to try to pounce right there, and he kind of didn't, and then I guess he just kind of got in dirty air and couldn't really get anything. But yeah, I was didn't expect to win, but I knew I'd be up there, but I didn't think I'd lead the entire race and do all that. So incredible night.
Yeah, it was very impressive to watch from my side, because it was just constantly, I was like, okay, Tommy, the only person who could take this race away from him is himself. But I have to ask, because the pit stop cycle, what was your strategy going in, and Was it a lot closer than you planned on? Because Dave was right on your tailpipe as you came out of that pit stop cycle.
Yeah, I had a horrible last lap just before I pitted. I kind of blew the bus stop a little bit and had to, feather the thing. And, you've got to be full throttle on the exit of that thing coming down towards the boot. And I had to wait a little bit. I literally think I lost close to half a second on that lap. And I was like, man, that's probably going to kill me, because then Mark started closing up to me. And the strategy was try to get as low as on gas as possible, because they seem to go faster the lighter they are on fuel. So I was going to try to run it, pretty seconds and half seconds sitting in the pits. So it is what it is.
And kind of looking at how your race ran, of course, started first, finished first, led all the way through, dominating run. Next week, it's the Hockenheim Ring. That a track you're comfortable with? And are you planning on repeating the run in Germany that you just had in New York?
Well, I hope so. Yeah, I've turned quite a few laps there, like most of these guys in here. So it's going to be your typical suspects up front. I have to do a little bit of homework there, because it's been a while since I've been around that place, but it should be very competitive and challenging. I know there's a couple corners in there you can get in trouble pretty quickly, but like them all, you just got to put in the time and understand what the car will take and what it won't.
Absolutely. And Tommy, congratulations on your win again today. That Ferrari looked unbeatable. Anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out before I let you go for the night?
Yeah, thanks to my teammates, and then Northern Tool and Equipment, and Les for putting on the show, man. It's close to 30 cars again, so it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. And Tommy, appreciate it. Congrats on your win again, and we'll see you next week, okay?
All right, bud, thanks.
And Corey, I believe you have caught up with our second place driver of Mr. Dave Hill, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, indeed. We got Dave Hill here. So, Dave, it came down to the exit of the pits, and I'll tell you, we looked at your pit time, and you had a shorter pit time in the stop, but you actually had a longer pit road sequence. I'm not sure how that worked out, but you missed it by a whisker, and it seems like you just didn't have the muster to get by him at the end. Was it dirty air, or did he just kind of find the secret sauce there on that last stint?
Nah, he ran good. I was actually hoping, that seemed like my only chance to hop him in the pits there, but I actually missed my pit stall and I had to back up. So I was like, oh man, I just blew the whole race. And I just was surprised at how close I came out to him. And he told me on the radio earlier that he didn't have the greatest lap going into the pits, so that was the extra time that I missed. So had I nailed the pit stop, I might have been able to squeak by him, but I mean, he ran good, he ran hard, no mistakes, on the track, and it was just a little give or take, but I just couldn't get by him.
And then the opening stint as well, me and Bradley were kind of theorizing between you, Dave, Mark, there was a couple others tagged on to the back of the field. You guys were just kind of running in that snake. Was that because you didn't have the ability to pass, or was that just a matter of patience and waiting until the pit stop?
I didn't want to take any, unnecessary chances and do anything stupid. And Tommy was running really good, and I thought, you know what, as long as I can stay close behind him, I might actually save some fuel, which will help me have a shorter pit stop. And as it was, I screwed it up on my own, but that sort of became the plan. And then at the end there, I was just trying to again give it as much as I can, but not screw anything up. The car was getting a bit wiggly on some of the corners, and I was like, you know what, I can either stay the course and get a podium, or maybe end up in the wall. So I just I backed off to maybe 95%. But if there was a mistake made by him or a door open, I was going to try to go for it. Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens next week, man, at the Hockenheim Ring. We'll see what you can do there, and congrats on a solid second. Any final words before we let you go?
No, thanks to you guys for the broadcast. It's been excellent to watch, and Les for putting on the league and such, and everyone that's coming out. We're getting some good crowds and a lot of good driving, and it's been really fun this season. So thanks.
All right, sounds good, my friend. We'll catch you soon.
See ya.
All right, and I think I think our extended interviews have put Mark Kudrowski to sleep here. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like we'll have a word from him, but we'll congratulate him nonetheless on a third place run. So the Glen doesn't let us down here again. It never usually does. And Tommy Ryan getting himself a good win. I won't have you next week for the Hockenheim ring, but I will have you for the season finale at a circuit that lapses my memory here. So, but what did you like here? What was what we saw here tonight?
Yeah, Watkins Glen just always delivers. That's the thing, Corey. It's a track that whether you're running the Cup configuration or you're running the full boot, I find that it always delivers. Of course, next week is Hockenheim Ring. I won't be around live for it, but I will be watching the broadcast after. And then from there, they go to Long Beach. So just a couple more weeks left here in this GT3 series. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying every bit of what I've seen with these guys and what I've been able to watch. Watkins Glen, it's such a good track. It's hard to have a bad race here. I'm a little shocked by that lap 1 incident, but I mean, something has to happen at Watkins Glen, and that's just that lap 1 sort of pile up there in the inner loop. It happens. Yeah, it's just the nature of the beast. Sometimes these guys usually run, perfect races, but that trend always has to get broken eventually. But that is going to be Corey and Bradley signing out of the booth. Make sure you like and subscribe, all that fun stuff on our road to 1,300 subscribers. Just need your help to get us there. But yeah, Corey and Bradley signing out of the booth. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.